Hi, and welcome back. In this video, we will briefly explore how you can use the principles of Kanban to drive organizational effectiveness and productivity. Let's start with a short story. Many years back, I was working with an insurance company, and the reason they reached out to us was not that they wanted to implement Scrum. They actually wanted to get rid of the traffic jam in their company portfolio. So we asked them, you're already using the analogy of a traffic jam. Do you have a sense of the number of cars in your current portfolio, which is the number of projects? They said no. We're like, all right, so let's start here. Let's first start counting the number of projects that are currently in progress. We ended up with something over 250 projects and an average number of projects of 5 or more per individual. Based on what we have covered so far, you know what this means for individual and also team productivity. The next question we raised was that if you have a traffic jam on a highway, would you still allow new cars to enter that highway? And of course their answer was no. But then we also asked, are you still taking in new projects into your portfolio? And they said yes. And we said why? They were like, yeah, we start a new project whenever the funding is approved. So whenever the funding is approved, a project gets started, a project lead is assigned, and they go and look for resources. And that ultimately translates into many, many more people having many, many more projects to run simultaneously, again, slowing down in terms of productivity and effectiveness. Last but not least, we asked them, now imagine we are in this traffic jam and ideally we're not allowing more cars to enter the highway. How do we get rid of the traffic jam? And their response was, ideally we start parking some of the cars that are not so urgent. And we create an emergency lane, for example, for the fire trucks, ambulances, and police cars. And that's exactly what we did. So we looked at that company's portfolio and prioritized in a very simple manner based on importance and urgency. You probably have seen this Eisenhower matrix. Everything that ended up in not being important and urgent, we stopped immediately. Everything that ended up in being important but not urgent, we also stopped them but highlighted them. And everything that was considered as important and not urgent, the same thing. We highlighted them but stopped them. So all those resources that were now available, we fully dedicated to all the projects that were important and urgent. And guess what? This resulted in the organization suddenly becoming so much more productive with regards to their most important initiatives. And ultimately we identified that a WIP limit of something around 70 to 90 projects. And the reason we have here a range is that not all projects are the same size. But that range seemed to be an okay number in terms of flow for that specific organization. And also, every single team member was now only on around 2 projects simultaneously, incredibly increasing their personal productivity, effectiveness, and guess what? Happiness. So when you think about applying Kanban on the organizational level, one of the best areas to apply it to is the project portfolio. And you apply the same principles. You visualize the workflow, including the status for every single project. And for that, probably your work in progress limit needs to be a bit more detailed with regards to different steps as part of work in progress. Then you limit your work in progress. So you understand what is the maximum number of projects that we want to work on simultaneously. This does not mean that you deliver less, but that you actually focus on less things at the same time to ultimately deliver more in shorter periods of time. And finally, you think about how you can optimize flow with regards to the projects that your organization runs. And it really doesn't matter what kind of prioritization technique you use, whether it's the Eisenhower matrix or anything else. As long as you prioritize, limit your WIP, and optimize flow, you will be way more productive as an organization, and your individuals will feel much less stressed and much happier. I hope this brief video gave you a good idea on how you can apply the principles of Kanban not only to individuals and teams, but also to the organizational level. See you in our next video.